My name is Brian LS, the creator of The Wild Blue, and this is my tutorial for how to make 3D comics. You'll need a few different programs to get started. The first program you'll need is Clip Studio Paint. The second program you'll need is VRoid Studio. And finally, you'll need Blender, specifically Blender version 2.92, as well as the CATS plugin for Blender to get this all working. Clip Studio Paint Pro is only $50, definitely on the cheaper side of different art software, so that's really all you'll need to get going. I use Clip Studio Paint EX just because some of its features appeal to me as a comic creator. You can definitely get by with just the Pro version. VRoid Studio is a character creation modeling software that makes it quick and easy to make your very own 3D modeled characters. You can design their outfits, their facial structure, their hairstyle, and it's all very easy to work with. You can download VRoid Studio straight onto your computer, or you can download it through Steam. I personally recommend Steam because it auto updates by itself. Otherwise, you have to download each new version individually. The Blender plugin we'll be primarily using is not compatible with the most current version of Blender. So what we'll need to do is go to download on the Blender website, go to release notes, scroll down till we find Blender 2.92, and that's the version we'll be using. We'll also be needing the CATS Blender plugin, so we'll go to the link in the description here, or you can just Google Blender CATS plugin. You'll find this GitHub link. You can go to code and then download zip. Put that wherever you like. I'll just throw it on my desktop for convenience. We're going to open Blender. Click General, doesn't matter. And we're going to go down, we're going to go to Edit and Preferences. On the sidebar here, we're going to click Add-ons. And then we're going to go to Install. We're going to find the zip file for the CATS plugin. We're going to double click and it should install automatically. You'll see 3D View CATS Blender plugin. Make sure that is checked and installed, and you have all the software you need to get started. All right, let's go ahead and open up VRoid Studio and make a character. Go ahead and hit New, choose either a feminine or masculine character. I'll go ahead and make a feminine character. There's plenty of tutorials out there how to use VRoid, so I will go ahead and skip to the end of this process here. There are tons and tons of resources out there. That's not what this tutorial is about, so we'll go ahead and skip to the end. I'm just going to go ahead and load up my character, Diana, here. Now, if you want to use the technique that I've been using, you're going to want to make your VRoid character and remove their pupils. So it looks a little freaky right now, but they'll by default they'll have pupils like this, and they'll have eyebrows. So I just threw those on. You're going to want, for your character, to choose the blank on all of them. No eyebrows, no pupils, no highlights. Try to get rid of the mouth as much as you can as well, simply because, there's a little bit of a spoiler here, we'll be drawing those on to maintain the maximum amount of expressiveness in our characters. So once you have your character with scary, ghostly eyes and no expression at all, we're going to go ahead and go up here to this little arrow coming out of the half box. We're going to export it as a VRM file. It's going to take a little bit because it's a lot of work it's got to do. And here you have it. By default, you're going to look up here and see the polygons 38,795. It's going to be a lot bigger or a lot smaller depending on the detail of your model. We're going to go ahead and reduce polygons. I always try to at least check edit hair cross section, and that'll take a big chunk out. See, that's brought it down to 30,273, but you can even go farther. The thing is, we're going to be importing these into Clip Studio Paint, and Clip Studio Paint is kind of fussy when it comes to high poly models. So we want to get it as low poly as we can while still making it look good. For here, you can mess with all sorts of things. You can optimize. The higher you put this meter, the more polygons it's going to take out. It's going to look more jaggy, but it's going to be perform better. So you kind of have to find a happy balance here. Thing is, with the face how it is right now, with no detail as far as the eyes or the eyebrows goes, we can kind of crank the face all the way up and save us on a good amount of polygons while maintaining it still looks pretty decent. The hair is probably what you want to be the most frugal about as far as smoothing out with polygons. As soon as you start cranking that up, that gets really jaggedy and it starts getting noticeable. So we're going to go ahead and take the hair down. We'll probably bump the outfit down a little bit too. So we got it down to, I like to try to keep it below 25,000 polygons, just for efficiency. So we're going to go ahead and export. You can type in a name, and it requires you title and creator. That's really all I do. So I'm just going to say Diana Tutorial. That's my name, LS. You can put whatever you want. There's all sorts of different things that you can do with this. I don't do any of that. Go ahead, export. I'm going to export it to the desktop for convenience. And we are going to open Blender as soon as that's done. All right, once that's all done, we're going to go ahead and open up Blender version 2.92. I usually just click General. I Control A and X to get rid of all this stuff because we don't need it. Keep it there if you really want. All right, now that we have our Cats plugin installed, like I showed you earlier, we're going to press the N key to bring up this sidebar here. We're going to click the Cats Blender plugin. All right, whole lot of stuff. Most of it doesn't matter. We'll just go up here to Import Model. Going to go to our desktop and open up our VRM file that we just exported. All right, it's finally exported. It took a little bit, but here we are. We're going to scroll in with our scroll wheel. I'm going to hold Shift and the scroll wheel to pan the camera around. I'm going to hold left. That's not right. Hold the scroll wheel without Shift to move the camera. You see Diana is looking a little gray. So there's going to be a Fix Model button. That's going to pretty much do all of the work for us. It's fantastic. We'll click that. It's going to get to work on fixing the model. Look at that. She's beautiful. Now, if you know Blender, you can make certain adjustments to your model. If you want them to be a little bit more plus size, or if you want to change the look in a way that is hard to do on VRoid, you can do that if you know Blender. Blender it took me about a week to learn everything that I needed to learn. It's not super hard, but it does take a bit of a time investment. So that's up to you. I personally think that this will work for my purposes. So we're going to go ahead, and after we've hit Fix Model and it's looking all good and everything, we're going to go into File. We're going to go down to Export, and we're going to export it to an FBX file. And we're going to stick it on the desktop. And this is very important. It's easy to miss, though. On the right-hand side here, under Path Mode, you want to change that to Copy. And then on the right next to Copy, there will be a Embed Textures. You want to make sure that's checked. This will make sure that her textures, like her color and everything, will be included with the model. If you don't do that, she will be gray like she was when we just imported her to Blender. So we'll go ahead, Diana Tutorial. We'll save that and export as the FBX file. Okay, once that's all exported, we're going to go ahead and bring up Clip Studio Paint. If this is your first time opening it up, you'll have to do a whole bunch of stuff to get it set up. That's not my job. I'm not doing that today. So you get that figured out, and once you're done, we're going to go ahead and click this little icon here to open Clip Studio. That'll bring up this window here. And we're going to go ahead and click on Modeler, Set up 3D Materials. You may have to install it first, but it comes free with every copy of Clip Studio Paint, so you won't have to pay anything for it. Once you have it all installed and ready to go, I'll teach you how to go ahead and get that Diana, or whoever your character is, into Clip Studio Paint. So when it pops up, it's going to give you this dialog option, where it gives you the option of an object or a character. Since we're importing a character, we'll go ahead and click Character, Create 3D Character. It seems very confusing and overwhelming. All we have to do is go over here on this right side. There's this little character without a head under Body. We're going to go down to this folder here, Add from File. We're on the desktop. We see my character, Diana Tutorial. We're going to double click, give it a second, and it's going to bring our beautiful young lady into Clip Studio Modeler for us. There she is. She's looking lovely. So the next step is going to be adjusting her height. I have a canon height for Diana in my head. She's 160 centimeters. So right here on the right side, we're going to click height, change that to 160 centimeters. There's also, if you're using the newest version of VRoid, they also have a version where you can configure the height in there. So that's also an option. Once we've done that, we've got her the height that we want. We're going to go back to this body tab. The sketch tab is where the height was. I probably should have pointed that out. But we're going to go back to the body tab here on the right side. on down here, there's going to be the perform standard bone mapping. So what Clip Studio Modeler is, it's not actually a modeling software, it's more of a conversion software where you import 3D models and characters, and it will convert it into a file type that Clip Studio knows how to use. So we're going to go ahead and perform standard bone mapping. It's going to give you, are you sure you want to do this? And yeah, we're sure. It's going to take a second. And right here is the T-pose. That's the default T-pose. With Vroid, they're always going to be in the same default T-pose, but if you're bringing in a different character, you may have to adjust the posture. We're right where we need to be, so we're going to go ahead and go next. It's going to ask you to define a few things. It needs your help to know what's what. First thing is to specify which bone is the head. Sometimes it's a little confusing figuring out all these are all the bones. If you don't know about 3D bones, don't worry about it. Just make sure her head is highlighted. Click it, and it'll find the neck bone all the way down to the spine. Then it'll ask about the right arm. It does not matter where you click. You can click the fingers. You can click the forearm, the upper arm. It's real good at telling what's what. So go ahead and just click any part of the arm. And the same thing with the leg. It's asking for what's the right leg and what's the left leg. And once we've got that all done, I'm going to hit next. And then it has a few sample poses it can put you in to make sure everything's looking correctly. And it looks like everything is looking pretty darn good. We're going to go ahead and click complete here. And Diana is all converted into a Clip Studio 3D model file. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go up to File, Register, New Material. We're going to go click on All Materials. I go to 3D. I have folders for everything. You can organize things however you like. I have a folder just for the Wild Blue, or ThWiBl as I call it. Protagonist. She's a protagonist, and we're going to put it in the Diana folder. We're going to call it Diana Tutorial. It's going to take a minute, and it's going to put Diana in your material folder on Clip Studio Paint. So we're going to go back to Clip Studio Paint. I'm going to open up a new canvas. We're going to, depending on how you have it organized, it might be different. This is how I have it organized. I have a little double arrow here. I click on that and it brings open my material folder. I find where I put Diana in my materials. Here she is, Diana Tutorial. We drag her in, and here we have her. All right, she is looking good, except there's some issues here. She's actually going really slowly. To really speed that up, go down here, and there'll be a switch between enable and disable of physics simulation. She does not have any physics to simulate, so we don't need that on right now. We'll uncheck that, and she'll actually be moving a lot quicker. But you see these weird black spots in her hair, and this may or may not happen on your character, but if it does happen, what's happening is that Clip Studio is trying to save resources by determining what is on the back of the model that you won't be seeing. And it's not very good at doing that. It's determining this part of her hair is on the back, and it's culling it out. It's making it invisible so it doesn't have to render that, and it will save on resources and run smoother. The thing is, we need that part of her hair. She can't just have these weird black blotches in her hair. So what we do is we make sure she is selected. We're going to go to the Object Select tool and select Diana. We're going to go down here to the Display Objects list. We're going to go down on here to Preferences, Render Settings, and we're going to unselect Back Face Culling. And that will get rid of those black splotches and fill it in with what was supposed to be filled in with. And there's lots of different cool things that you can mess around with in this dialog box. You can apply lighting effects and make her look like God's mistake, or you can give her an outline and a different color outline if you want. You can give her a big red outline. You can do whatever. You can click off Use Texture and turn her into a gray monster, or you can turn off Texture and apply Light Source and turn her into a weird statue looking thing. There's lots of different things that you can mess with here. I'm just going to keep the outline to black, and I prefer it on 35. That's usually where my sweet spot is. I should probably turn that texture back on and get rid of that light source. So here you have Diana, and she's sitting here, and you can rotate her with this set of tools here floating above her that all do different things. I won't go into what they do now. I'll let you just kind of explore for yourself. You can click on each different body part, and you can have these little lines here that you can click and drag and pose her as you need. But sometimes there's a whole body that you have to pose here, and it can get a little time consuming and complicated. Luckily, Clip Studio has your back on that. So There is a on the Clip Studio Assets database. There's all sorts of different poses that you can download. Some require a payment, but a lot of them are free. And all you have to do is download them, and you'll find them in your materials window here. I have a bunch of dancing ones for we're doing a party episode of the Wild Blue, so I need a lot of dancing poses. All you have to do is click and drag the pose, and automatically the character gets put into that pose. Sometimes the pose will be configured to a different body shape, so it'll look a little weird. See, this one's supposed to be praying, but her arms are a little, I don't know, too short, too long, whatever, and looks like her arms have gotten crossed there. So sometimes you may have to adjust them. If you double click on the model, these little balls will come and they control each individual hand, and they will do everything. They will move the arm, the entire arm, to fit where the hand is going. There's also this axis specifically for moving the elbow, so that can be very helpful as well. It might take some time to play around with it and get kind of familiarized with it, but it is really a great way to kind of realize characters without having either to do the time-consuming drawing work, or the learning to draw to begin with, or learning 3D to make these characters yourself. So it's very efficient, and it's very easy to use. Okay, now that you have your character all good and you can pose them however you like, go ahead and bring in a second character, another Diana. See, now we've got two Dianas on our canvas here, and we can rotate the camera, we can do whatever, we can put them in different poses, we can do anything we need to do. There's a pose for just about everything on Clip Studio, on the Clip Studio Assets database, so anything that we need that we can probably do. And they also have a pose scanner, so if you have an image of a pose that you need and you can't find one on the Assets database, you can just upload an image and it'll do its best to replicate the image in your photo. So what do we do after that then? We're going to go ahead and get these guys in more of a looking at the screen, so it's easier to whatever. There we go. And I mean, you could figure all this out with just a little bit of playing around. It's pretty easy and pretty intuitive. The next step would be, how do we get some facial expressions on these ladies? We're going to go to our layers palette. I'm going to drag the layer down and put it below this blank layer here. And I'm also going to create a new vector layer. A vector layer may not be quite what you're expecting if you're familiar with Adobe Illustrator. It works like a vector in the sense that it's more, it's actually a group of mathematical coordinates rather than just graphics. See, we have this on our normal layer, this little scribble, and if you blow it up and then shrink it back down, it's going to look bad. Well, I mean, that doesn't really look bad, but there you go. See, it's all pixelated, it's all blurry. But if you have it on a vector layer, with a scribble, you blow it up, all it is coordinates. So it just blew up the points of the coordinates. You can actually go to your object tool and see where all the coordinates are. These are called control points. And you can actually edit after the fact where the control points are, and that will move the line. So the lines are malleable. You can change them after they've been laid down. I like to use that for line art. So I'm going to zoom in on this Diana face here. And the eyebrows and the eyeballs that we have omitted from our Vroid model, we're actually going to draw on, because I think a drawn expression has a lot more, expressiveness than just a 3D expression. I think there probably could be a way to get the 3D model expressing similarly. I don't know how to do that. I'm just teaching you what I know. So we're going to go ahead and draw an expression. Sometimes the outline feature on Clip Studio won't get everything. It'll look weird. And as you can see, there's a little mouth here left over. I just sample the color of her skin and draw over it on the color layer. So I have my line art layer and my color layer. So let's say I wanted Diana to have a little smiley, add some smile to her eyes. So I put a line there, and on my color layer, I just color that in. So it's a 3D model, but you draw over it. Let's go ahead and add an eyeball. This is how I do eyes. You do eyes however you like. I have a color set over here of all the characters and their eye colors and everything. And so I just do this real quick. My workflow for the Wild Blue is based on efficiency. And so it's kind of built to be able to make comics as fastly and efficiently as possible. And sometimes Vroid's not perfect. See, there's a lot of detail missing from this hand here. So sometimes I'll go in and I'll kind of finish the details it didn't manage to get in there. And that's all optional. The thing is, people look at a comic page for 2.5 seconds. So if everything looks right on the surface, then they're not really going to notice. And this method really takes advantage of that. I'm gonna have Diana be kind of grumpy over this one. If you know Diana, she's a real grumpster, so it's kind of weird that she's smiling like that over here. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna have this one with an open mouth because she's gonna be talking. There we go. And I have separate colors saved for the tongue and the inside of the mouth. And we're just gonna go ahead and fill in the eye like that. And stick a highlight. Since the highlight goes over the line art, I like to put the highlight on the line art layer as well. This is a really weird picture here, but it works for what we're going with. And sometimes you'll see there'll be little goofs here, like her skin color showing through her pants. That's quite immodest of you, Diana. Just draw over it. Just draw over it. Anything that's wrong, just draw over it, man. Most people won't even notice. Sometimes I forget to draw over the mistakes, and nobody notices anyway. See, I'll just take the background color and kind of... Vroid kind of had some problems with the clipping here on the end of the pants. You just draw over it. Any mistake, you draw over it. And it's not like you need to know how to draw a lot of stuff. So let's go ahead and put some speech bubbles on here. There's a speech bubble tool here in Clip Studio Paint. I like to use the curved balloon, or you can use the rounded balloon or the ellipse balloon. I don't like the ellipse balloon so much just because it's completely circular. Speech bubbles kind of have an amateurish feel to them. And the rounded ones, I don't really like it. It feels a little too robotic. So I like to make my own with the curved balloon. You just tap the points in which you want the balloon, and it'll make those curves automatically. And boom, you have kind of a... It's not perfect. I think the lack of perfection gives it a lot of personality. So let's go ahead. I have made my own font for the Wild Blue. You can look into how to do that yourself. That's not what this tutorial is about. My name is Diana. She's very enthusiastic about that. We're going to go ahead and blow that up and change the size. And then there's also a balloon tail tool. I just click a few times, and there you go. And then you can move it after the fact. You can move it around. It's on its own layer. It's its own object. You can also adjust the control points of the balloon if you want to change the shape of it. And it changes how it relates to all the other control points in real time. It's great. Now you might be wondering, what about backgrounds? I don't have quite such a clean solution, but I'll tell you what I do. We're going to go back to the Clip Studio Assets database that we have here. Go down on this left toolbar here. Click Clip Studio Assets. We're going to click that. And here you'll find the assets database where everybody will upload their own stuff for other people to download. And it's great. So we have the search bar here. We can go to detail and search all the different types. You can have different types of balloons. I don't use those a lot because I make my own balloons with that. There's image material. There's different brushes that you can download, gradient sets. There's so much stuff. What we're looking for this time is 3D objects. And as you can see, there's it runs the gamut from character pieces to environmental pieces to accessories, a whole bunch. And the thing is, I'd say over half of Clip Studio's user base, especially people contributing objects and things to the assets database, are Japanese people. So if a lot of the times you can search, let's search bedroom, and you'll get some stuff in English, a good decent selection here. Um, but sometimes you won't find what you're looking for. So instead, we're gonna go to Google, or this is what I do anyway, and I just search the Japanese word for bedroom. It's gonna bring up, or you can just go to Google Translate, whatever. I go to copy to clipboard. I go back to Clip Studio, and I paste, and I get rid of the English one that I have here, and there'll be even more options for you to choose. So make sure you check both the English and the Japanese word for whatever you're looking for to get the full gamut of options before you. The thing is, a lot of these aren't free. There are some that are free, and you can even organize them by free. But as you can see, there's not a whole lot of options here. Clip Studio uses two different kinds of currencies. It's kind of confusing. They use both gold and Clippy. Gold is basically money. You can go and I have 110 gold in my account here. Not a whole lot. It's about the equivalent of $1.10. But you can buy gold in increments of $5 or 500 yen or whatever. It's a Japanese company, so it converts it all to yen. Or you can use Clippy, which is basically a currency meant specifically to incentivize people to contribute to the database. You can upload your own creations to Clip Studio database and set them at a Clippy price, or you can set them up for free and get a flat rate of Clippy given to you for that, and you can use that to buy different assets. There's plenty of other tutorials that can give the full information there. I'm just touching on this a little bit. So, once you've found a background to use, we're going to go back into Clip Studio. We're going to go ahead, and I have a whole background folder here. I think most people also do. These are my collection of backgrounds that I've used that I've gotten on the Clip Studio Assets database. You can also download assets just on 3D database websites as well. I think this one is the upstairs floor of a school. We're going to load that in. We're going to go ahead and move it. We're going to move it to where we need to move it. Diana's coming through the floor. And you can also scroll down on this left side here and adjust the lighting, or you can turn the lighting off altogether. It looks a little flat. Some of them have textures baked in that make things look good even if the light source is turned off. Most of the time you're going to want the light source turned on just to get a little bit more dimension in your scene here. So you can adjust the lighting however you need. Sometimes it takes a little bit of finessing, but we'll call that good right there. All right, and now we're just going to go to the frame tool on Clip Studio Paint. We're going to pick a rectangle frame, and we're just going to draw one about, we'll give maybe a half an inch on each side of the margin. I'm going to take all of our layers that we've been working with and drag them up into the new panel that we've created. And here you are. You have a panel of the wild blue. Well, kind of. I like to see the context in which that panel came to be. But I hope this helped, and I wish you luck in potentially making your own 3D comic. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a wonderful day.